Something else from SEC Media Days.
All right.
It's just interesting to me that Sam Kahn posted up as a example of just how wacky the sport of college football can be and what fun we're in for now with Texas and Texas A&M reunited here soon. David Ubben had a tweet that said, let's see, which one came first? All right. Kirk Bowles had a tweet that said, Texas A&M AD Ross Bjork reiterating that if Texas becomes a permanent rival or whenever the two play as SEC teams, the first game will be in College Station. And we brought that up like a while back. He had said that. So that was at 3:42. Less than an hour later, David Ubben, somewhere else in the room, talking to Del Conte. Del Conte reiterated Texas's support for a 9-game SEC schedule, but also said, again, the location of A&M Texas rivalry assumption has not been settled, so we'll see where that bad boy ends up. But
wouldn't that be at least, okay, listen, we brought him into the conference that you had a chance to have kind of your own little neighborhood.
You would think it would be simple, and you say, yes, College Station gets to host. I mean, it should probably be that simple, but, if I'm Sankey, I'm also like, I'm going to let this twist in the wind a little bit and let them. Who was the last game was played? Where? College Station or Austin? Yeah,
the field goal.
Kick, yeah.
They had the face mask or the late hit or whatever, the personal foul.
I can't remember who it was. He played for the Packers. Just hit Case McCoy 17 yards out of bounds. I mean,
I thought it was a pass interference and then a late hit or something.
Well, I mean, it was that late hit out of bounds was a key play because I think I was on what would have been like a 2nd down and 9 for an offense that had kind of stalled at that point, and then they gave them 30 extra yards on the drive.
But one thing UT does when the game is on the line, Nebraska, Oklahoma, A&M, among us, if it's a last-second field goal to win it, they're damn sure going to make it. Every single time, and they did that last meeting with the Aggies. But that was in College Station, so who knows what they'll do when they resume the rivalry.
Ross Bjork is probably trying to manifest that into existence in that if he just says it enough, the SEC will go, yeah. That's fine. Whatever. Just
how about the tongue-in-cheek from Del Conte about throwing their weight around? I know he's having fun with that. Well, it must have been before me. And what Brandon Marcello said, okay, they might be able to try to do that, or Oklahoma, but they're going to run into a little bit of a different barrier with what they face with some of the other alphas in the room in the SEC. Well, I look forward to all that going around.
Yeah, I mean, there's a trade-off, right? You don't get to have your cake and eat it, too, with making the move that they made. Ultimately, they might be able to. But, yeah, you're going to have to make some sacrifices, and not being quite as powerful as you were in that conference boardroom is one of those things. But the trade-off is you get more exposure, more money, more security, and I'd say it's a pretty good deal. I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, we act like they're Lex Luthor or something, but, I wouldn't put it past them to, pick their spots. I think clearly Del Conte's trolling and having fun, although who knows, we could see that game wind up in Austin. And if we do, man, if I'm A&M, I'm throwing an absolute fit, though. Like, that would be so disrespectful after being, the team to join years ago. And clearly, this is going to be a massive, massive game. And I think if you were to put that anywhere but College Station, that would just be a slap in the face. I mean, it really would be.
Isn't it like the Houston game this year it had to be Texas, Houston, and Houston?
Oh, it's way different. Yeah. It's way, way, way more personal and bigger than that game. I mean, that was just like Texas is leaving. They're leaving. So, yeah, like you gave them a little slap on the butt, and it's not even that big of a deal. Like, it's a close road trip. They're going to have 1 billion fans there. It's just that they didn't get to have it in the NFL stadium where they'd have even more fans there because I think logistically that was just a smart play for Houston. They don't want to be outdrawn by the opposing team,
right?
Which would be likely to happen with that. They're coming into your place where you've already been set up for a while now, had some pretty big moments, and you've been a part of the whole deal. And here's this big resumption of the rivalry. Just naturally, it absolutely should be in College Station. But I think everybody's having fun with it to an extent. And, we'll have to see because there could just be a little bit of trolling going on, but yeah, I would find that massively disrespectful if it's in Austin.
The timing of the conferences, the addition of Texas and OU, there was in the last 3 or 4 years, and who knows what would have happened, but Texas has at times struggled. We know that. Ellinger had the team that went to the Sugar Bowl, lost to OU in the Big 12 championship game. But here they are about to resume everything, and Texas has a little bit more steam, mainly because A&M was such a flop last year. So it'll be interesting by the time they do play if it's 24-25, where each of those programs or both will be. I'm butthurt if I'm an Aggie and I lose in College Station for the first rivalry SEC game. J.G. Neolardo.
That's the other thing
on the game between A&M and the Horns.
Yeah, even if it is in College Station, there's still that possibility. So, like, yeah, I mean, the only thing you can do is you have to win that game, or else it's going to be brutal for whatever side doesn't. But particularly if you're the side that's at home, which again remains to be seen. I would, if I had to put a bet down, believe that game will be in College Station. But
I think so too. I do think though there is, further building into the complex that A&M has over or Texas has over A&M, that they've always kind of done that, is that now you may not even get the game at home, and two, you had a decade plus to make your mark, and even if Texas was coming in, you could have been so far ahead of them and put a dent in them, because Texas was down for so long, and A&M failed to do that again.
They failed to sustain any of the momentum. So there's that. An interesting note, Big 12 Media Days started today in West Virginia.
Well, that's just fun. This is some of those things that we didn't get for a lot of years because they weren't in the same conference. Mm-hmm. So, like, all this little petty bickering or back and forth poking and the fun that can come with that, and I'm sure some other feelings as well at times, depending on the subject matter. Like, that was something that you only got really on Twitter, and it was like two website guys that were arguing back and forth. But now we actually have the ADs in the same league. They're going to be playing each other, hopefully as permanent rivals whenever that schedule gets sorted out. And I do think, even though I'm not somebody who grew up where, like, Thanksgiving revolved around that game like it did for Paul, for example. Like, how much was that your Thanksgiving tradition?
We went a couple times.
Yeah, like it wasn't that for me. It was a big game, but I just wasn't invested in either one. But I'm not like somebody who's been every year like, oh, they can't believe they're not playing. But I am super excited to see them actually resume this. I think it's going to be amazing.
It was no different to me than watching Florida State, UCLA, USC. But I enjoy traditional rivalries, which we know some have come and gone, and some have been reestablished. Texas, OU, of course, has been constant. Nebraska, Oklahoma, they didn't play for a while. Then they've played the last couple of years, and it was nice. Even though last year Oklahoma beat the living hell, the first game was pretty competitive when they resumed their rivalry after many years of not playing.
So, Paul, you went to a couple of those, you said?
Oh, yeah. I went to, I want to say like 3 or 4 in my life. I remember we went in 1988, and A&M had won at that point 5 years in a row, which meant it was easier to get tickets for my dad. He called up a buddy the day of, and he said, yeah, I got 2 in the end zone. We were in Austin because my grandparents lived in Austin my whole life. So especially if the game was in Austin. And then I went to the last I went to a couple after that. But I was at the Bonfire game, and that was my freshman year in college, but I was home for Thanksgiving, and that was awesome. Yeah, it was great. It was a huge thing for my family, the A&M Texas game every year. And, yeah, it'll be great to see it. But, like, that's the other reason I don't want the 8-game schedule to be voted on, because if they do that even for a couple of years, that means that we're only going to get that game once before it becomes the permanent rival, because Texas OU isn't going anywhere.
No, that's going to be each other's.
That's going to trump everything. So the other thing is, for A&M, the only benefit I can see that they would possibly think to getting Texas back in the same league as them is that their rivalry game comes back and their fight song makes sense again and all of that stuff. But if you don't get to even do that every year, then you're like, what did you guys do to us?
Yeah, they need to make sure that happens just as much as Texas OU. Make A&M and Texas happen. And then in the end, I think they'll figure that out. I saw one of the games that might be a game that is a crossover game that is lost if they stay in the 8-team schedule going forward, is like Auburn and Georgia, which for Auburn, again, they've been up and down at times. They've been elite, but that was one of the games.
Will Georgia notice?
Yeah, no.
Right now?
No, not really. No, not really.
Yeah, I think that I just think what Marcelo said, it's posturing for TV money. And like he said, when people are saying it's not about the money, it's about the money. And you had, the Georgia official, I forget if it was the president, I think it's the president, that had said, we need to see if there's more money. If we're going to play an extra game, we need more money. And then who was it? It was Sankey, right? That came out and said, hey, it's not about chasing money. Yep. Everything's not about chasing money. But, if you're believing Brandon's quote, which probably is right more often than not. When it's not about the money, it's about the money. Or John McClain, our buddy, everything's always about the money. This is clearly about the money. So, that's something that they and ESPN need to get together on at some point and figure out. And, that seems like it's really the obstacle that's preventing this from just, going full forward.
I don't know, but I do think that this is not anything that will change his power structure of who he is running the conference. But Greg Sankey right now, I mean, this is something he wants to see 9 games. We'll see. If they're not going to happen today, probably not going to happen this week, but this is something that as a commissioner, Slive would have made this happen. Delaney would have made this happen. I would think right now, even it's been on the clock for less than